Okay, Oscar fans, I realize it's only October, and if you think this is too early to start predicting the Oscars, you're nuts because every year we usually do it in August. The only reason we're doing it later now is because the Oscars moved up. And you know what? Our predictions tend to be 50% correct 6 months before the Oscars. So let's see how we do right now. I'm Tom O'Neill with Gold Derby. I'm here with Ann Thompson from Indiewire. I'm here with Clayton Davis from Variety. I'm here with Tim Gray of Variety and the great Pete Hammond from Deadline. Now, looking at the early, and we've got more than 3,000 predictions already at Gold Derby from a lot of brave people about the Best Picture race. Number one comes in as No Man Land, Nomadland. Number two, Mank. Number three, Trial of Chicago 7, followed by One Night in Miami, and then Ma Rainey, and then The Father. Since you're the newest addition to the Penske family, Clayton, I come to you. Give me your two front runners and why.
Chloe Zhao's Nomadland.
I don't want your opinion about what really. In my favorite is this or that. We're going for predictions, baby.
Got it. All right, Nomadland, Chloe Zhao, movie that hit the biggest out of Venice, Telluride, Toronto won the People's Prize there, and I think it's just set up on a trajectory to do very well as making history as the first Asian director to be nominated, first woman. Asian woman to be nominated for Best Director, and I think it's one of the few studio films that are going to be in the running this year. Number two would be Trial of Chicago 7 from Netflix. I think it's their best bet going forward right now at this moment. It seems to be capturing what the country is currently in, and I think it's a big ensemble. I think the actors branch is going to love it.
Your fellow Variety scribe here, Tim Gray, do you take issue with any of that?
No. I have three top two choices, and they're Nomadland.
Cheating.
I'm cheating, but hey, it's 2020. There are no rules anymore. Nomadland and Chicago 7, I think, are brilliant, and for the same reason, The Father. I think all three of those movies are technically so well made. They're emotional. They're smart. They're really engaging. I just find all three of them pretty irresistible.
Anne?
I agree with the top two. If I were to come up with a third, I would come up with One Night in Miami, which is going to open later. And my caution here is that this is a really long haul. So we're describing where it is right now. Yeah. And I agree completely. I mean, the Trial of Chicago 7 and Nomadland are just out of the gate. Nomadland has the advantage of actually opening later. It had the festival bump, and then it will open later. And Netflix is rolling out their pictures and getting a lot of buzz for them now. They're ahead of other people in a certain kind of way in terms of just attention paid at the moment, because people can't be in theaters now. So when the theaters do come back and when those movies start to open and they start to get more attention in New York and LA, God forbid, New York and LA might have theaters open, then we'll see some changes, I think.
But Pete, we know that Netflix has not won Best Picture. Remember that presumed win for Roma? That didn't happen.
Well, I didn't.
Is there such a thing as a Netflix bias?
To me, it's way too early. This is, in my world right now, we're in August, essentially. Telluride, the fall festivals haven't happened in a normal season. 7-month season, nobody wants anyway. They're not going to spend the money. You're right, Anne. I agree with you. Netflix is really pouring them out now. I just saw an incredible one last night. I can't even talk about yet, but it's a lot of movies that they have, and they are going to cannibalize each other if they're not careful, because when you have that number you're going to push out, where do you go? Who's the baby? You say Trial of 7. Yeah, it's out now. It's getting all the attention. They're on all the talk shows. Mank, it's a fantastic movie. It will appeal to Academy in particular, because of the nature of what it's about. It's beautifully shot, and they've got others that are coming up, and so we'll see. Netflix is an interesting thing. Nomadland's played the traditional route. It's gone off to win all the festivals. Anybody that wants to honor Chloe Zhao, they will take it. And they're just going to pile up all these things they can put in ads. It's a very traditional way of going. And they're smart, I think, to not open it until December. They had told me they were going to pull it back. They haven't really done that. They're still on the festival circuit, but they were nervous about getting too much attention too early, I think, with that film. And there's more to come. This is an interesting year, but the Academy themselves, they're way behind on seeing these things. They're just seeing Chicago 7 right now, and it's right in the heat of a campaign, and it's so pertinent, and there's an emotional thing to it. Emotion really counts, that ending of that movie. I think that's going to go a long way. This could be the year for Netflix, or they may fall short again. I mean, it's hard to say at this point. I really can't. That's why I don't do predictions this early. Plus, I have to talk to these people for the next 6 months, and you know what they do with Tom's site here. Well, on Gold Derby, why are we number 3?
I usually get that from Anne.
Anne's so politely raising her hand.
I'm raising my hand. I don't want to interrupt. I basically agree with you on Chicago that it's right in the sweet spot of the Academy's sort of liberal election year emotions. And Aaron Sorkin is certainly going to do well. And I think Sacha Baron Cohen too, which brings up the whole question of Borat, which is a fascinating question. If some people saw that last night. But I really want to suggest that that Netflix is in a position this year, given the quantity and quality so far of what I've seen, to dominate in an enormous way. And I don't think they have the kind of negative animus against them that they used to in the pandemic world. Right. Netflix seems to have emerged as a kind of benevolent studio, a functioning studio, a company that's hiring people, that is able to release its movies. And in that context, I don't think there's the same negativity that was there the Green Book year.
I agree.
I mean, would you argue, though, that at some point they're going to have to pivot and make a focus? Because I think last year, they had a lot last year. And while, Irishman got 10 nominations and Marriage Story got a win for Laura Dern, they were juggling a lot last year and did come up short in regards to a lot of things. I mean, Irishman went over 10, and they could have gotten Marriage Story, probably original screenplay win for Noah Baumbach, or even into director. Do you think maybe now with this much on their plate that at some point they're either going to need to focus and pivot, or does that wide cast, get the best of them again?
That would be death for them. They have to appeal. The game here is about talent and what you're doing for talent. And anybody working at Netflix knows they have to answer to those individual directors, all of whom have big egos, all of them who think they're, winners here if they're in an awards campaign at all. And it would be very difficult for them. And, the Sony Classic model has gone on for years. They're very even-handed in how they handle all of their contenders, and Netflix is going to have to be too, and they've got the money to do these campaigns. So I don't think until it just gets really close, and right now, we're way out, but until it gets close, I don't think that Netflix is going to pick favorites here.
Here's my counter argument against the go ahead, Ann, you first.
Oh no, go ahead, Tom, please.
Here's my counter argument on the Netflix thing. I think it had such an enormous advantage at the Emmys that it managed to do something, of course, no show has ever done, which is sweep absolutely every single category. Now, we know that the Emmy voter is not really that sophisticated, that they didn't realize that only 5 out of 6 seasons were on Netflix. They were voting for Schitt's Creek for Best Comedy Series, and it swept the boards. And I think it was helped a lot by COVID. I think it helped was by the fact that they were at home, those voters seeing its screen that way. That kind of sweep is certainly unprecedented, and it's going to help Netflix in this early run. And they're going to have all this early momentum, just like they had with Irishman last year. But I think the looming question is, what happens if some people like Donald Trump are right and the vaccine is out for this pandemic thing by, let's say, mid to late December, and all of a sudden people are out voting, socializing. All of a sudden, that that kind of cocktail conversation we hear at parties that say, "Hey, have you seen Parasite yet? It's really, really great." And that takes off, or Spotlight, blah 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 blah, and then that takes off.
It's going to be June before you have any real.
I agree with Pete. I don't think you should be counting on any vaccine anytime soon. That's a Trump fantasy and not to be believed.
Yeah.
But what I will say is that the advantage Netflix has, which is huge, is that people are watching the movies and seeing them there. And that's the world. That's the game. It always was the game. I'm going to quote the great Cynthia Swartz and say it's about seeing the movie. And if you've seen it on Netflix and you haven't seen it somewhere else, that's their advantage.
And it depends on Tom.
Yeah, go ahead, Clayton.
I was saying, Tom, you're giving Netflix credit for Schitt's Creek, but I mean it's Pop TV. That wasn't like a win for Netflix. I mean,
but it's why they saw it.
It was a win.
They saw it, but it doesn't count for them yet. They can't.
But it was
like
because of Netflix.
Season 6 on.
Sure, I mean they can share in the globe, but it's not theirs yet, because Ozark almost became the biggest loser in Emmy history when it won 1 award out of 18 nominations. So I would say that Netflix, while they have the goods, I don't know if I agree that the whole Netflix bias is eliminated yet from the conversation.
Oh no, I'm saying it's the opposite. I'm saying they now have this overwhelming advantage that could play out extraordinarily at the Oscars, the same way it did at the Emmys, and tower so far above the other streamers. Look at what happened to the other streamers at the Emmys. Amazon won 0, Apple won 1 for Billy Crudup. Hulu won, was it 0? I mean, the other streamers got wiped out, and Morning Show got Billy Crudup in.
HBO was the big
Netflix got what's her name, and that was it.
Netflix won 21 Emmys out of 160 nominations. That's not a great showing at the Emmys. If they had actually done Schitt's Creek, that would have been huge for them. They finally would have won a comedy series, a drama series, a limited series. They still have yet to win those in the Emmys.
Yeah.
They will eventually, it's a slow process. They may beat that at the Oscars by finally coming up with a Best Picture. It's a matter of which one and the way the winds blow, and it's really hard to say right now. And they've got a lot of stuff coming up, and they picked up a lot of stuff. So in acting, I could see 5 nominations in the actress category, all going to Netflix. I mean, they are that good. Right.
Yeah. But let's go back a couple of years to underscore this point of the Netflix advantage. It in the past, there was a lot of jealousy and those kinds of issues in the past. But remember, it wasn't until Breaking Bad broke loose on Netflix that it really took off at the Emmys. Yes, Bryan Cranston won that first year for Best Actor, but that was back in the days when they had judging panels and they only had 50 people watching, 50 DVDs, and then they picked a winner. I think now Netflix is in this ideal situation right now with the at-home voting and with the pandemic to do.
I agree.
Yeah, they have the goods.
Yeah, I mean, I think there will always be a small hardcore group that votes against Netflix because. But I feel most of the Academy voters that I talk to, I mean, they don't vote for studio or platform. They vote for what they like. And like last year with Parasite, people love that movie. So I think in 2020, the idea of a movie debuting and streaming is the norm now. So I think Netflix is not in any significant disadvantage, and they got the goods. But as Ann said earlier, for me, it's all about timing. Because if you remember a few years ago with A Star Is Born, if they held voting in October, that would have won every category. And by the time the actual Oscars came around, I think it won 1, I think, right? for song. So it's timing is hard, and it's especially hard for dramas to maintain that momentum for 6 months.
Yeah.
Okay, I just broke our rule. We're only supposed to be talking about best picture and director and so forth, but I just put an acting comment up on the screen from one of the viewers now that says, for supporting actress race, I see Glenn Close, of course, 7-time loser, Hillbilly Elegy, and Olivia Colman face off again. Who has thoughts on that?
Well, they'll be in there. I haven't seen Hillbilly Elegy. Have you, Pete?
No.
They show him everything early because he moderates everything. It isn't fair.
I think I see something you're going to see that will surprise you. And I'm not talking about Hillbilly Elegy, but I can't. This is so early for me.
I'm just giving you a hard time. So I'm hearing, because I didn't watch Borat last night. I was watching Rebecca and the World Series, so shoot me. Maria Bakalova, you guys?
She is amazing.
Actress. I hear she's incredible.
I think she should be nominated supporting actress, and I think Rudy Giuliani should be up for supporting. I'll stick with that.
You know, the Indiewire team is all over that this morning.
I posted my review at 9 a.m. whenever that thing broke, and I kept calling them, and I said, "Did he sign a release?" Because they said 99% of real people sign releases, and you just can't imagine it. But in this case, off the record, very reliably, I'm told yes. And but I don't think he knew where the cameras were placed at certain points, and that is where this is going to be huge. We knew the minute we saw this picture. Over the weekend, I saw it, but we knew immediately this will be news. And but it's a funny movie. Look, he won. We're really digressing here, but he won the Golden Globe for the first Borat, and
he got a screenplay nomination shared with another writer. Yeah.
The power of this.
The writers always come through for Hangover and Bridesmaids. Raunchy comedy is hard to do, and he might get rewarded.
He may have a harder time than he did before. But I think back to the Coleman Close argument, I think it could be those two. But my gut feeling, and this is just gut based on like early rumblings of Hillbilly Elegy, I think the question is, how bad does Hillbilly Elegy have to be to keep Glenn Close from getting into the law? I mean, that's based on the early.
It's unlikely to be a critic's picture. Is the point?
Yeah, I think it's close. I think it's Glenn Close or bust. But it'll be interesting for Olivia Colman to trump her again. I mean, like we saw that with Annette Bening twice against Hilary Swank twice. And some of those tend to happen.
I don't think Olivia Colman's role in The Father, I thought she was fine, but I don't think she's that movie. I think
it's Anthony Hopkins' film.
Yeah, but I think that helps. I think when Anthony Hopkins, who I think is going to get a plurality of the vote in Best Actor, he's
the front runner for sure.
That always tends to pull in other stuff just because once in a while. And I think Olivia Colman could be an easy kind of get in, because supporting actress again in itself is not hugely competitive, and I say that in the sense of what Oscar typically goes for. There's other worthy nominees like a Maria for Borat, but
Ellen Burstyn,
absolutely. Pieces of a woman.
Ellen Burstyn would be the oldest nominee ever.
I want this to be a 2-video shoot, so we're going to stop right here. Everybody take a 15-second break and then switch to the other video.
Okay. Can I just say something about The Father?
Yes.
I want to say that one of the stories here in the race is that because so many of the big studio movies have moved out, the remaining indies have a much bigger advantage than they would ordinarily have. And that's why you could see something like a Sony Pictures Classics movie, The Father, move up in the rankings and be much more of a main player in the Best Picture race, say, or director race than it might have been in another more competitive year.
The more was for them. It could, and it will appeal. And of course, it appeals to an older demo. So,
right.
Okay. Time out. We will resume in just a few moments.